Hey guys, welcome back for another video. We're going to be doing our Sunday best bets today, breaking down our Sunday NFL games as well as the Monday NFL game. We are going to completely break down these matchups, try to predict the outcome, who's going to win, who's going to lose, what the final score will be, but we'll be touching on the best bets for every single game, the money lines, the spreads, the over-unders. Make sure to hit that like button, make sure to subscribe. If you have any comments, please drop them below, and I will make sure to respond. Every week, we're going over every single NFL matchup. We also do the same thing for every college football game as well, the top 25, the non-top 25. We have the bowl game starting this week. We have the first round of the playoffs this weekend. There's a lot to keep up with. If you're a football fan overall, make sure to subscribe to the channel. If you're a sports fan in general, like and subscribe to the channel. Like I said, we're going to be hitting those best bets for all of our Week 16 games. We have the Thursday night game in the books. We have the two Saturday games that are wrapping up today. But that doesn't mean we can't look at the Sunday and Monday matchups. Let's go ahead and get things started, kicking things off on Sunday. At 1 p.m. on Fox, the 2-12 New York Giants, they might be the worst team in the NFL. They have a lot of questions to answer, especially at the quarterback position going into next season. They'll be playing the 7-7 Atlanta Falcons. Word is the Falcons might completely release Kirk Cousins. They're not just benching him. They might kick him off the team before his $10 million bonus kicks in. Right now, they're going to be going with Michael Penix Jr. He's a rookie. He only has 38 yards so far. We haven't seen very much of him at all this season outside of the preseason, so it's kind of hard to judge him because we just don't know. That's the massive unknown here right now. But right now, the Falcons, 8.5 point favorites. The over here is 42.5. They have a 72.2% chance to win this game. The Giants have had all different kind of quarterbacks. They've actually had 3 different starting quarterbacks this season as of right now. Could be lock. We'll see who suits up. We'll see who plays the majority of the snaps this game. But they're the underdogs. They have one of the worst offenses in the NFL. They're having issues consistently moving the ball, getting first downs. They're averaging 14.9 points a game, throwing for 185.1, running for 111.3, giving up 23.4 points a game, which actually isn't bad considering the fact that their defense is on the field for the majority of the game. Right now, Tracy Jr., 5 yards shy of 700. Malik Neighbors, when he's been on the field this season, a legit wide receiver number 1, but they need a consistent quarterback. They need consistent play from the quarterback position next year. This guy can light it up. He just needs someone to feed him the ball consistently throughout the game. Looking at the Falcons, obviously, Michael Penix Jr., that's the unknown factor, but thankfully for him, he has a loaded offensive roster. The Falcons are averaging 20.9 points a game. Kirk Cousins had as many interceptions as touchdowns. That was always putting this team in a bad position. You have playmakers there. Put the ball in the playmakers' hands. There's no reason to force anything. Just take what the defense gives you. They're throwing for 238.9 points per game, running for 124.2, giving up 24.4 points per game. Looking at the playmakers, Bijan Robinson closing in on 1,200 yards. They have Algiers, London, Mooney, Pitts. They have a weapon at running back, wide receiver, and tight end. One of the most complete offensive rosters. It's just the quarterback position that's been the main question mark. We have the Falcons getting the win here. 24-14. We have them covering the spread. We're just coming in at the under, but there's a lot of unknowns here with Penix getting the nod at the quarterback position. And the next game we're looking at on Fox at 1 p.m., the 7-7 Arizona Cardinals. They've been flip-flopping the whole season, having a good game, having a bad game. But hey, they are much improved over last season, especially with their pass rush. They have a pretty decent offensive roster. They just need to make sure that they have one of their good games this week. Thankfully for them, they are playing the Panthers. They still have their playoff hopes alive. They're playing that 3-11 Carolina Panthers. Since Bryce Young's come back at the starter, they've actually been having a pretty decent offense. They're not lighting things up, but they are getting some first downs, taking a lot of pressure off their defense. Right now, the Cardinals, 5-point favorites. The over in here is 47.5, and the Cardinals, 71.9% chance to win this game. Kyler Murray, he's doing things through the air. He's doing things on the ground, closing in on 3,100 passing yards, 15 passing touchdowns, 8 interceptions. He also has 4 rushing touchdowns as well. It's what he can do extending plays with his legs, rolling out the pocket, but he's always keeping his eye down the field. He doesn't want to have to run, but if you give him the open spot, he's going to take off. He will scramble for that first down. They're averaging 22.4, throwing for 209.9, running for 141.5. Actually a pretty decently balanced offense, giving up 21.9 points a game. When they have their healthy offensive roster, Connor, He's closing in on 1,000 yards. McBride closing in on 1,000 yards. Marvin Harrison Jr. It's when they have all those guys on the field and they have a good, consistent play from both sides of the team, the offense, the defense. To me, they're both going to show up on Sunday here. For Carolina, Bryce Young, Chuba Hubbard closing in on 1,100 yards. He's always the X factor. You know they're going to run. He's still getting his yardage. As of right now, I have the Arizona Cardinals pulling off the win here, winning this one 28-21, covering the spread, and we're going to go with the over. And then at 1 p.m. on Fox, the 12-2 Detroit Lions. Yes, they have a loss this past weekend, but nobody wants to play the Lions. To me, as of right now, they are the best team in the NFL at Week 16. They'll be playing the 4-10 Chicago Bears. Since that Hail Mary disaster loss, they have not been able to rebound. They are getting better play out of their offensive line. They are buying Caleb Williams some time, but when he has some time, sometimes he takes too much time to get rid of the ball. He has to get rid of the ball. That offensive line has to hold up, but they're definitely going to be tested. He's going to be under a lot of pressure here from this Detroit Lions team, but the Bears almost beat him last time they played. As of right now, Detroit, 7-point favorites. The over here is 47.5, and the Lions have a 71.2% chance to win this game. Goff picking up right where he left off last season, 3,800 passing yards, 30 touchdowns, 10 picks. They have the number one offense in the NFL, just over the Buffalo Bills, averaging 32.8 points a game, throwing for 260.1, running for 143.7, giving up 20.1 points a game, only giving up 101 on the ground. They have a very good defense. They are very banged up, however. A lot of people saying that they're toothless. Have you watched the Detroit Lions team this season? They are lighting things up on offense. Yes, they lost Montgomery for the season. Yes, they've lost a lot of defensive players. They might get some back in time at some point during the playoffs, but right now they are beat up, yet still they continue to score. They continue to win games. Looking at the Bears, Caleb Williams, this is his rookie season. He is playing better as of recently. You got to give him some props. There's been a lot of upheaval there, coaching, offensive-wise. He's closing in on 3,000 yards, 17 touchdowns, 5 picks. They're averaging 19 points a game. They're throwing for 181.9, running for 106.4. They do have the defense, and they are at home. That's why there's the upset potential here for this game. They have a very good defense versus a Detroit team that was just off of a really emotional shoot-'em-out loss. Can they perhaps catch them sleeping here? They give up 22 points per game. They have Swift. They have DJ Moore, they have Odunze, they have Allen, they have a veteran wide receiver core, they have some young guys there, very talented, underappreciated wide receiver core, but they're going to have their best game to compete with the Detroit Lions. You have to be prepared to get in a shootout with the Lions. You're going to have to consistently move the ball, get first downs. If you turn the ball over, the Lions are going to turn that turnover into points. We have to see a clean game out of the Bears. Looking at the Lions, even though they lost Montgomery, Gibbs closing in on 1,100 yards. Lasora, St. Brown, one of the best, a top 5 wide receiver in the NFL. Just the stats he put up versus the Bills, crazy stuff. He's their go-to guy for third and long situations. I have the Lions cruising, getting back in the win column here, winning this one 27-18, covering the spread, but we're going to go with the under. And then on Fox at 1 p.m., the 12-2 Philadelphia Eagles, again, one of those teams no one wants to play right now, playing turnover clean football, and they're bringing a top 5 defense into every matchup. Defense travels on the road. They'll be bringing that here to Washington. They're playing the 9-5 Washington Commanders. Washington, you played a close game versus the Eagles last time. You have the offense to where this game, if you have the ball last, you can go down the field. You can win this game. This game, 2 talented offenses. When that happens, anything can happen here, but as of right now, the Eagles 3.5-point favorites. The over in here is 45.5. They have a slight 56.7% chance to win this game. Hurts is doing crazy things on the ground this season. He's closing in on 2,900 passing yards, 18 passing touchdowns, 5 picks. He has 14 rushing touchdowns. This is the number 1 rushing team in the NFL. They're lighting things up on the ground. When you can run the ball, yes, that opens up the play action. It gives you time of possession, and it usually cuts down on the turnovers. There's less turnovers running the ball than throwing the ball statistically. Right now, they're averaging 26.4, throwing for 187. The number 1 rushing team, very balanced offense. They're running for 186.2, and they're only giving up 17.6 points a game. That is a top 5 offense. That is a top 5 defense. Looking at Washington, Jaden Daniels closing in on 3,100 yards, 17 touchdowns, 6 picks. He can also do things with his legs, but you don't want him to have to carry this team on the ground. But he can scramble for first downs. They're averaging 28.3, top 5 offense, throwing for 218.4, running for 155.5, giving up 22.5 points a game. They have Breon Robinson Jr. They have Scary Terry. Looking at the other side, massive weapons, specifically Saquon Barkley, 12 yards shy of 1,700. He might get 2,000 rushing yards this season. He's at least in the MVP conversation. They have A.J. Brown. They have Smith. Too many weapons, and they're playing clean football here. But Washington can beat them if they play their best game this weekend. But I'm going to go with the Eagles pulling off the win here, 28-23, covering the spread, and we're going with the over. And then at 1 p.m. on CBS, the 3-11 Cleveland Browns. The worst thing that happened to them this season was Deshaun Watson, but they brought in Jameis Winston. They are much better than their record shows. They don't have a bad roster, especially on the defensive side, but they have in no way been able to get everyone on the same field at the same point, and their defense has been getting torched because their offense can't get first downs, and they have a turnover problem. Right now, you have them playing the Bengals. The Bengals, basically, they have to win out in order to have any shot to make the playoffs. They're 6-8. They got to win every single game going forward just to stay in the conversation, but they're massive favorites here. They are 9-point favorites. The over-under's 46.5. They have a 54.3% chance to win this game. Their defense is atrocious, but they do have a top 5 offense, but they have a top 5 defense. So basically, they just have to get out of their own way, and thankfully for them, the Cleveland Browns don't have the offense to more than likely turn this into a shootout game. Right now, Cleveland, they might be going with Thomas Robinson. They've had a lot of quarterback issues throughout the season. No matter what, the Bengals are going to force you to have to score almost every single possession. You got to get a touchdown. You at least got to get a field goal. You have to generate points here. They're going to give them to you, but you have to consistently get them because Burrow is having a great season. Right now, Cleveland are averaging 17.1. Throwing for 217.5, running for 92.1, giving up 25.4 points a game. Ford, Judy, they got to get Judy going. And for the Bengals, Burrow having his best season, closing in on 4,000 yards, 36 passing touchdowns, leads the NFL, only 8 picks. They're averaging 28.5, that's a top 5 offense. Throwing for 271.4, running for 91.1. They got to get the run game going more consistently to open up some play action here. Try to suck up the clock, keep your defense off the field. They are giving up 27.6, that's a bottom 5 defense. They give up 240 passing yards per game, 127 rushing yards. There will be opportunities for the Browns to move the ball. They have Brown, Chase, Higgins. Chase having a great season, closing in on 1,500 yards receiving. The Bengals should win this one on their offense alone. I have them winning it 30-21. So that's a push technically right there, but the spread might move, and we are going to be going with the over. And then on CBS at 1 p.m., the 3-11 Tennessee Titans played a lot of close one-possession losses here, but they have also been shuffling quarterbacks. A lot of teams with quarterback problems this season. They'll be playing the 6-8 Colts. The Colts, obviously, they put Flacco back on the bench. They've been rolling with Richardson. I have been bashing his passing ability, not an accurate passer by any means, but at least he can extend plays with his legs. They want to keep this game on the ground, control the time of possession. Colts, 3.5-point favorites. The over in here is 42.5. They have a 61.1% chance to win this game. For Tennessee, they've been shuffling in Levis, Rudolph. Really doesn't matter who's been playing. They're not consistently moving the ball, especially in the red zone. They're averaging 18.1, throwing for 190.6, running for 110.4, giving up 27.1 points a game. They don't give up very many yards. It's the turnovers and putting your defense in bad position. That's what's led to a lot of those scores. Pollard closing in on 1,000 yards. Calvin Ridley closing in on 800 yards. And for the Colts, they're averaging 20 points a game, throwing for 190.4, running for 120.9, giving up 23.5 points a game. They have Jonathan Taylor. You got to hold that ball going into the red zone, but he's someone that can run it. He can also catch the ball out the backfield. Pierce has been banged up. Right now, the Colts, though, they should be able to get the win here at home. But with Tennessee, with a lot of one-possession losses, they could always sneak this game out. But I'm going to go with the Colts winning this one 20-17, going with the plus 3.5 and the under. And then at 1 p.m. on CBS, the 8-6 LA Rams versus the 4-10 New York Jets. The Jets finally got that 4th win. You don't want to fully judge the Rams here by their record. They have a very, very loaded and talented offensive roster. They haven't had their guys on the field together for a lot of this season, but when they're on the field, like they are right now, they can get into a shootout with anyone. The Jets, Aaron Rodgers actually isn't having a bad season this far. He gets a lot of flack, but he's not having a bad season. Right now, the Rams, 3-point favorites. The over here is 46.5. They have a 51.2% chance to win this game. They have the veteran Stafford closing on 3,500 yards, 19 touchdowns, 7 picks. They're averaging 22.1. Throwing for 232.1, running for 105.8, giving up 24.1 points a game. Yes, their defense has a lot of question marks. There's going to be opportunities for the Jets to push the ball down the field. They will be able to run. They will be able to throw. But it's the pressure of having to keep up with that Rams offense. Can your defense slow them down and keep your own defense off the field? Right now, you have Stafford, Williams closing in on 1,200 yards, Nakua, Cooper Kupp, Atwell. That's why I said this offensive roster, very, very talented. That puts a lot of pressure on the opposing team's offense. Looking at the Jets, Rodgers is closing in on 3,300 yards, 23 touchdowns, 8 picks. Not having a bad season. Right now, they're averaging 20.2 points a game, throwing for 217.3, only running for 89.7. They got to get the rush yards up. Quarterback's best friend is a run game, time of possession, open up that play action. They're giving up 23.2 points a game. Breece Hall, Wilson, Lazard, Devontae Adams had almost 200 yards this past season. They don't have a bad receiving core. It's just consistent play from everyone. Jets can easily win this game. If their defense plays the way that they are talented, the way that they're capable of playing, they can keep this game close. And if the Jets have the ball last, they can go down the field. Rodgers loves the 2-minute drill, but I'm going to go with the Rams winning this one. 24-20, covering the spread, going with the under. And then at 4:05 p.m. on Fox, the 12-2 Minnesota Vikings. One of those other teams nobody wants to play right now. Props to Sam Darnold. This offense is lighting things up. They're getting great play out of their defense. They'll be playing the 8-6 Seattle Seahawks. Seattle's been up and down this season. 3-game winning streak, then they lost a bunch. Now they're back to a winning streak, playing really good football on the offensive side. It's all going to come down to Geno Smith having a clean game. He has a lot of interceptions this season. If he keeps a turnover clean game, they can upset Minnesota. But it's going to be on his shoulders. Do not throw picks, have 2 to 3 touchdowns, and you can pull this one off. But right now, Minnesota, 3-point favorite. The over here is 42.5. They have a 55.9% chance to win this game. Sam Darnold having the best season of his short career, closing in on 3,600 passing yards, 29 touchdowns, 11 picks. They're averaging 26.4. That's a top 10 offense. Throwing for 236.6, running for 113.2, only giving up 18 points a game. That is a top 5 defense. Only giving up 89.1 on the ground. Seattle doesn't love to run the ball, but Minnesota is going to make it even more difficult, putting even more pressure on the Seattle passing game. Right now, Geno Smith closing in on 3,700 yards, 14 touchdowns, 13 picks, practically 50-50. That's why I said he has to have a clean game this game. If he gives turnovers to the Vikings, if he gives the ball back to the Vikings, they're going to turn it into points. You got to score when you have the ball. They're averaging 22.5. Throwing for 240.4, only running for 94.3, giving up 22.4 points a game. Kenneth Walker's been banged up, but they have a pretty decent wide receiver core. Smith, DK Metcalf, but they've had a banged up offense throughout the season. Even more pressure on Geno Smith. That's why a lot of this game is going to come down to him. It's not going to be their defense. It's going to come down to the quarterback and their offense. And on the other side, they have Aaron Jones Sr., Justin Jefferson closing in on 1,300 yards. He might be the best wide receiver in the NFL. He's at least top 3. We have Minnesota winning this one on the road, 27-21, covering the spread, going with the over. And then on CBS at 4:25 p.m., the 3-11 New England Patriots versus the 11-3 Buffalo Bills, a divisional matchup here. A lot of pressure is going to be on Drake May to have a really good game. He's going to have to shoot it out with Josh Allen, who might be the MVP frontrunner right now. Right now, the Buffalo Bills, massive favorites, 14-point spread here. The over-under is 56.5. They have a 83.1% chance to win this game. Looking at Drake May, he's closing in on 1,900 yards, 12 touchdowns, 9 picks. He just doesn't have a lot of playmakers on the offensive side. They have a lot that they have to retool on this team. Just give them some time. Right now, they're averaging 17 points a game, throwing for 173.2, running for 119.3. They just don't have the passing offense there. The Bills' offense, number 2, just slightly number 2, is going to put a lot of pressure on the Patriots' offense to have to match them blow for blow, score for score. They're giving up 24.1 points a game. Stevenson, Hunter Henry, and for Buffalo, Josh Allen, putting up video game numbers, 5 yards shy of 3,400 passing yards, 25 passing touchdowns, 5 picks, and he has 12 rushing touchdowns. That's why I said he might be the MVP frontrunner. 37 total touchdowns. This isn't the Josh Allen gunslinger of old. Yes, those skills are still there, but he's taking what the defense gives him and then just slightly taking a little bit more, dominating through the air, dominating on the ground. They're just barely behind the Lions for number 1 offense. They're averaging 31.8, throwing for 238.8, running for 130.8. Very balanced. They're giving up 22.1 points a game. They have Cook, Shakir, Coleman, Cooper. They have the offensive weapons. They should not get upset here by the Patriots. I have Buffalo winning this game easily, continuing their roll through the season. They win 33-17. They cover the spread. We're going to go with the over. And then 4:25 p.m. on CBS, the 3-11 Jacksonville Jaguars versus the 2-12 Las Vegas Raiders. The Raiders, let's just call it what it is. They're not necessarily good at any one thing this season. They don't have a good offense. They don't have a good defense, but it mainly gears around the quarterback position. That's probably been an issue for both of these teams. The Raiders have been shuffling quarterbacks, O'Connell, Minshew. No matter what, they're not scoring enough to win games, but they do give up a lot of points as well. Jacksonville Jaguars, they're not going to have Trevor Lawrence. They're going to go with Mac Jones. He's not having a great season, but at least he's an experienced veteran backup. Right now, the Raiders are actually favorites here. 1.5-point favorites. It's probably been a little while since they've been a favorite in a game. The over-under is 40.5. They have a 60.4% chance to win this game. Jacksonville, they've played a lot of really close games. They haven't been playing that bad since they lost Trevor Lawrence, but they got to continue to get the run game going. They're averaging 18.8. Throwing for 204.4, running for 101.6, giving up 26.9 points a game. One of the worst defenses in the NFL, but the Raiders also have one of the worst defenses in the NFL. So basically, this game is going to come down to who is going to stink the least. Right now, the Jags are giving up almost 265 yards through the air. Very bad secondary. They got to get some pressure from their defensive front. They got to make up for where the limitations are in that secondary. They have Bigsby. NTN was back. Brian Thomas Jr. having a great season, closing in on 1,000 yards, even with the quarterback issues. And looking at Las Vegas, Minshew, O'Connell, really doesn't matter who you plug in there. You're going to get the same performance from the offense. They're averaging 17.5, throwing for 221.1. The worst rushing offense in the NFL, only running for 78.1 yards per game. There will be opportunities to run on Jacksonville, but you got to at least get to 100. You got to get some yardage on the ground to not be completely one-dimensional. And they're also giving up 26.9 points a game. They have Madison. Brock Bowers having a great rookie season, but God, he can't carry this team completely on his shoulders. Just think of the rookie season he'd be having if he had a decent quarterback. We have Jacksonville pulling off the upset here, winning this one 23-20. So we're going with the plus 1.5, and we're going to go with the over. And then at 4:25 p.m. on CBS, the 6-8 San Francisco 49ers, they went from almost winning the Super Bowl last season to being 2 games under 500 at week 16 of this season. They have to win out. Both of these teams have to win out to have a shot to make the playoffs. They'll be playing the 6-8 Miami Dolphins. They should have won last week. It is what it is, Tua. You got to play better. These games aren't under 30 degrees. You're actually supposed to win these ones when it's not cold outside. Right now, though, the Dolphins are the favorites on the road. 1-point favorite. The over here is 44.5, but San Francisco has a 53.1% chance to win this game. When the 49ers are healthy, they probably have the best top-to-bottom roster in the NFL. But that's the thing. When they are fully healthy, they have yet to be fully healthy this season. A lot of pressure is going to be on Brock Purdy here. Miami, since they've had Tua back, they've been a top 5 scoring team. Without Tua, they're not able to move the ball. But Tua, he's just not consistently getting good enough play second half. Is he still the answer for the Miami Dolphins at the quarterback position? Right now, San Francisco, they're averaging 22.4, throwing for 231.6, running for 133.5. The issue hasn't been getting yards. They need better play from their defense, and they need to take advantage of the teams in the red zone. They're giving up 22.9. When healthy, look at this roster. Mason, McCaffrey, Kittle, Ayuk, Debo, Jennings, weapons up and down the field. So many weapons, a plethora of weapons, but they're not going to have all those guys. They'll only have 50 to 60% of those guys on the field any given Sunday. And for Miami, they're averaging 19.7. Tua, he's closing in on 2,700 yards, 18 touchdowns, 7 picks. But it's when the 7 picks happen, they happen at the most inopportune time. They're throwing for 222.6, running for 101.4, giving up 22.3 points a game. This offense is starting to get really banged up. I actually picked the Dolphins to win in my previous predictions video for this week, but news out. Hill, questionable. Waddle, doubtful. Most's banged up. So many issues with their offensive roster as well. When they're healthy, one of the best offensive rosters. Achim, Mostert, Hill, Waddle, Berrios. They just cut Beckham. But half those guys are probably not going to be playing Sunday. So I have to go against my previous predictions. I have San Francisco now pulling off the win, winning this one 23-21, going with the +1 here. And we're going to be going just barely with the under. And then our next game, the final Sunday night game, second to last game overall at 8:20 p.m. on NBC, the 8-6 Tampa Bay Buccaneers. What a season they're having, especially on the offensive side. Chris Godwin leading the NFL in receptions. He goes down. Mike Evans comes back in. This offense has continued to hum even without one of their most dynamic weapons out. They will be playing the Cowboys, who are going to be without Dak Prescott, obviously. Right now, Tampa Bay, 4-point favorites. The over here is 48.5, and they have a 70.2% chance to win this game. Playing at Dallas used to be really hard. They dominated on the home field, but that has not been the case this season. Tampa Bay, like I said, they're going to be 4-point favorites here on the road. Baker Mayfield closing in on 3,700 yards. Number 2 in the NFL, 32 passing touchdowns, 14 picks. They're averaging 28.8 points a game. Top 5 offense, throwing for 244, running for 144.4, very balanced, giving up 23.1 points a game. They give up a lot of passing yards. They don't have a bad rush defense. They have a pretty decent pass rush, but it's their secondary giving up weapons. But their offense is going to be able to make up for it. No matter who they've played, they've been able to consistently move the ball. Irving, Mike Evans back. Mike Evans is having a typical Mike Evans season. Every season, you get the same exact performance from this guy. He's a legit wide receiver number 1, a massive target to throw the ball up to, and when you need a catch on 3rd and long, he's going to come down with the catch. Looking at Dallas, they lost Dak Prescott, but hey, give them props. They've actually been playing pretty decent football for the last month without Dak Prescott. What's changed? Cooper Rush having pretty consistent performance, and they've gotten the run game going. They used to be averaging 77 rush yards per game. They're almost at 100 now. Completely changed the outcome to the games, because when you can run the ball, it's going to open up that play action. Cooper Rush closing in on 1,500 yards, 10 touchdowns, 3 picks, filling in for Dak Prescott. They're averaging 21.3, throwing for 229.1, running for 99.8. I said 20 more rushing yards per game. That's opened up a lot of things on the offense. But hey, their defense is still continuing to stink. They're playing awfully. They are bottom 5 in the NFL in total defense, giving up 27.1 points a game. Even though their offense is playing better, massive issues on defense. This team had a top 5 defense last season, completely went the opposite way this year. They have a lot of holes they need to fill in the offseason through the draft. They have Dowdle. He used to be averaging 30 to 40 rush yards per game. He's bumped that up to about 60 to 70. That's a massive change over the last month. CeeDee Lamb, a legit wide receiver number 1, just shy of 1,100 yards, but he can't do everything for this offense. Dallas can win this one. They're playing a lot better. They are at home, and they are running the ball, but you have to be able to throw on Tampa Bay. I have Tampa Bay winning on the road here, 27-18, covering the spread, but we're going with the under. And then our final matchup, our Monday night game, December 23rd on ESPN at 8:15 p.m. The 5-9 New Orleans Saints, probably obviously not going to have Carr here. Very banged up. Not a bad roster by any means, but they haven't consistently gotten good performances on the field. They'll be playing the 10-4 Green Bay Packers. The Packers, massive favorites here. 14-point favorites. The over here is going to be 42.5. They have an 82.6% chance to win this game. Carr, there's been a lot of things of whether this guy's going to play or not. There's some rumors that he's out for the season. Look, he's probably not playing this Sunday. Let's just say that. He is closing in on 2,200 yards, 15 touchdowns, 5 picks. He's been banged up throughout the season. That last one, though, when he hurt his wrist, that probably finished him for the season. There's no point to roll him back out right now. Right now, they're averaging 22.1, throwing for 210.2, running for 124.4, giving up 22.3 points a game. Not a bad roster, but massive issues consistency-wise. And for Green Bay, even with Love missing 3 games, he's still closing in on 3,000 passing yards, 23 touchdowns, 11 picks, and they're averaging 27.1 points a game. They have a top 5 offense. They have a top 10 defense. They are throwing for 231.4, running for 144.4. They can throw it on you. They can keep it on the ground, suck up time of possession, and they're giving up 20.5 points per game, only giving up 105 rushing yards per game. They have a great defensive line, and they have the offense to back it up, score when they need to score, but a Carless Saints probably not going to be shooting it out with the Packers. Looking at the Packers playmakers, Josh Jacobs closing in on 1,200 yards. They have Reed, but this game is going to come down to running the ball, dominating time of possession. They have the offensive firepower. There's no reason to run the score up here. You have your sights set on positioning for the playoffs. We have the Packers winning this game, dominating on both sides of the ball. They win this one 24-14. But we are going to be going with that plus 14. That is a massive spread. I hate massive spreads for NFL games, and we're going with the under. So that's our breakdown. That's our picks and predictions for all of our remaining Week 16 NFL games. Make sure to hit that like button. Please subscribe to the channel. If you have any comments on these games or anything else, drop them below, and I will respond. Thank you.